Shalom, first and foremost, all praise and glories unto Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahushua, Ba'ashim Arachakwadash, double honor to our apostles, the bishops, the elders of the great millstone, who teach God and are rooted well. And greetings, salutations, blessings, much love unto you, hopeful elect. Shalom unto you, your brother Shaquat, with a video. I'm going to try to make this as concise as possible. I won't say quick, but I tried my best not to have too many things to say. But I do have a few articles in the scripture. This is basically going to be somehow entitled more on the MOTB. And it's right on time, as another video to be done. But this one says about the Palantir. Matter of fact, let's go to that first, because I have to show you how all this ties in. So more on the MOTB, and it has to do with Palantir. Okay, a lot of us know what Palantir is. We looked into it, broken down the name. Matter of fact, let me get it with the Edom real quick. So I'll read this one first, and then I'll get back to the scripture. But just to set the stage of what we're talking about and how they're gonna bring all this to pass. So let me just start here. Palantir and this is the Palantir meaning, right? Palantir is a word from J.R.R. Tolkien's Middle Earth Legendarium, and it means far seer or seeing stone in the Elvish language Quenya, right? And brothers have broken this down and brought this out. Okay, now I'll put it right in ChatGPT, which this has everything to do with ChatGPT, which is an artificial form of artificial intelligence. Okay, it says Palantir, plural, is a magical crystal ball-like stone that allows its users to see events in other places and sometimes even in other times. Okay, which we see this happening with AI now. We see people going, whether it's ChatGPT or whichever that you use, you can put in certain things and bring up images. You can bring up movies and short stories, making them visual. Okay, which is like like a crystal ball. Okay, and so, well, what was the crystal ball of the righteous form of this? This was the prophets and even the Urim and the Thummim. Okay, so, but the prophets were able to interpret these things, but this was on the right-hand side. So everything that E is doing, we know who Esau is, okay, is he's trying to mimic the ideas that are on the righteous side and use it for his gain or his purpose on the left-hand side. Okay, this is a perfect balance. We're watching the Most High's perfect balance unfold. Okay, he's showing we're going to get the fullness of the righteous, okay, in the kingdom of heaven. But right now we're watching why it can't be all the perfect things that the Most High created on the right hand side is not meant to be used on the left hand side. We're watching this devil use it perfectly on the left hand side, okay, to the best of his abilities, right? And it just goes on and on. It says the stones communicate with each other, so someone using one Palantir can speak to or spy on someone using another, but they can also be dangerous, especially if controlled by someone like Sauron, who used one to deceive and manipulate. Basically, Esau using it for evil means. Symbolic meaning wisdom, communication, and surveillance. Okay, these are key. Surveillance, but also deception and illusion of control. All right, and this is going to tie into what I have to say about E and what he's trying to do with this thing, right? In a broader sense, it represents the dangers of seeing too much or becoming obsessed with trying to control what lies beyond your reach. Let me get this right the scripture right away. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, we'll start at verse 3. But I'm going to start at verse 3. It says in the NLT, "Don't be fooled by what they say, for that day will not come until there is a great rebellion against the Most High, and the man of lawlessness is revealed, the one who brings destruction." Okay, so this has to happen. Okay, this is all, it's a certain order that the Most High has set up for the end of the times to be. Okay, and we're living in that end time now. It says, he will exalt himself and defy everything that people call God, a higher power, and every object of worship. He will even sit in the temple of God, claiming that he himself is God. Why? Because he has a godlike complex. Because he wants to be, let me get the definition of the word for you.
Omnipotent, of a deity, having unlimited power, able to do anything.
Okay. This is what he wants. He wants that type of power that the Most High has. Okay? Because he is now, the Most High has hid himself from his people. He feels like he's not paying attention to anything in the earth. He can do whatever he wants. And while he has the Most High not, as he feels, not paying attention to what's going on, he thinks he can try to even deceive the Most High and gain power against the prophecy of the Most High. Okay? That he should be, that the elder shall serve the younger, going all the way back to Jacob and Esau. Okay? But it was from the beginning that the elect would reign, that his chosen people would reign. Anyway, right? So having all power with omnipotent, he wants that type of power. Okay, totalitarian. We hear these words, right? But he can't get it physically. Okay, so what is he gonna? So how does he do it?
Democracy, the government or control of society or industry by an elite of technical experts.
Okay, and this is what they try to do through a technocracy. Okay, and this is what they believe the power of AI will give them. All right? Because it's like looking into a crystal ball, and they can see past events, they can see future events, they can see things far off that they couldn't see before. And AI make it in a reality sense understood. Okay? This is what they think they have the power to now. And they're going to use it for evil means. And it's going to get deeper into that, but I don't want to go too far from the basics of understanding of what this is. And it's funny because it made me think, well, actually, let me read the scripture in Revelation, the 13th chapter, and it'll make more sense. But then I got another movie idea to tie into this, which we all should know this one. All right. So, yeah, I got to start up at 11. I'm going to read through it in the NLT, but I'll break it down because even though the NLT does break it down in plain language, it can lose some flavor and some understanding with some of the words they choose to use from time to time. But then they do give other flavor where you can see it more plainly, right? But the Revelation 13 verse 11 says, "Then I saw another beast coming up out of the earth. He had two horns like those of a lamb, but he spoke with the voice of a dragon." Now, to break that down, two horns like a lamb is basically speaking of the two-party system, okay? But even though it sounds fair and they're balanced and one side this and one side that, it really does, all in all, work together to become draconian. The end of this is of all their democracy and everything that they're doing, especially with the technocracy that I'm talking about that's coming, as we'll get down to it, it'll become draconian. Okay, and if you need a model, and I'm using their words, if you need a model of what's going to happen in America, China's the model. Okay, of the technocracy of control, technological control. Okay. But they're watching how the Chinese, who have different beliefs, would do it versus how the Edomites of the West would do it. Okay, which the Chinese are the Moabites, but they're looking at how they would do it in the West. How you take that same control that China has with their 15-minute cities and everything that they got, and the control that they have, and their social credit scoring and everything, and they're looking how they would control it with that same authority. All right. Now it continues to say, he exercised all the authority of the first beast. What's the first beast that it's talking about? The beast before it, the first beast, was the Roman Empire. Okay, and the beast that coming up after it is the rebirth of the Roman Empire. What rebirth You go back in secular history and you'll find the time of the Renaissance, which means rebirth. And it's when they brought back the Roman Empire. Okay? And he required all the earth and the people to worship the first beast. Okay? So now the second beast is going to require all to worship the first beast under that system of the first beast of total world domination, total world control, a new world order. Okay, they tried to do a version of it then, and they're back with the Greeks. They tried it. They tried to do it with the Romans and the ancient Romans, the first beast we're speaking of here, and they're going to try to do it now with the rebirth of the Roman Empire beast. Okay, this beast system that's being built now. Why? Because when you look at what that is, that new world order truly is nothing more than the birthright. Okay, and I'm not going into that. I've tied it in other videos, but that just for you that do understand that's where that branches back to. Okay, that's what they're trying to, in effect, get to rule the world forever and get the blessing that Jacob got and Esau was supplanted by. That's what Jacob means, to supplant. Okay, and he supplanted Esau for the birthright, but it was prophecy that he would get it when you understand the story in Genesis, the 25th chapter. Moving on, it says, whose fatal wound had been healed. And when that's a key extrapolation, because how would the fatal wound heal? Because the Roman Empire went down out of control, lost control to the dark ages of the Byzantine Empire for about 1,000 years when you do the history on that. And then they came back into power when they came out of those mountains. They were chased into the mountains and subdued, and then they came out of those mountains and assumed power as they pillaged through Europe. Okay? And eventually rested in the Holy Land, but they were all over the country. Okay, all over the continent, I'm saying. Okay, so reading on, it says, he did astound miracles. He did astounding miracles. And he couldn't do it physically, so he has to do it with science and technology. Okay? This is how they get you, with science and technology. People fall for the science because in the technology because it's like miracles. Okay? Because it's a power that they know they can't reach themselves, but they know, like, oh, this is great power. If he has this type of power, God must be working with him, so he must be for them. So, and he's sharing it with the world, but he's gonna share it in a draconian way. Okay? And you know, you go into Draco and all of that of the Roman Empire, but that's something else. It says, even making fire flash down to earth from the sky while everyone was watching. And who was all watching when that happened? World War II. He scared the shit out of everybody with those atom bombs, the hydrogen bomb, and now he has the nukes out there. And he back here, you know, in Nevada, they have the Nevada test site, which they were dropping bombs in the middle of the desert, trying to see what they would do. They've even taken some out into the ocean and dropped bombs. Okay? But they recorded it so they could study it themselves, also to show the world the power that this place now has. Okay? And that's key to how they ruled the world, because a lot of people didn't want to combat this place because of it. Okay? So it says, and with all the miracles he was allowed to perform, showing you that the Most High still controls this, he was allowed to perform on behalf of the first beast. Okay? He deceived all the people who belong to this world. He ordered the people to make a great statue, and this is where it lost some of the flavor, image and statue. It's not a physical statue. It's more of an image, meaning a way of life. He was a perfect image of American citizen. Okay, you gotta put it into understanding speak. Okay, let's see if they use another phrase in another translation. It usually uses the word image more than anything. So let's see if we can get the other word image to make an image. Icon. Okay, icon. Okay. icon. It says an image, feature, likeness, image of the things, used of the mortal likeness of renewed men to God, image of the Son of God. Okay. And when we put on the image of the Son of God, what are we putting on? We're putting on the way he lived, the way of life. Okay. Just to break it down to you, it says, one in whom the likeness of anyone is seen. So we're like the likeness of the beast, but it's a likeness of a way of life, the way the people would live in that Greco-Roman type spirit, applied to man on account of his power of command. Okay. On Hamashiach, to Hamashiach, on account of his divine nature and absolute moral excellence, right? That's what I was saying. When we put it, and they put it on for the image of the beast, the way of life that the beast wants us to live with that technocracy. Okay? And who's going to help them? Palantir and AI. Okay, which is where we're getting to. Okay? Let me read a little bit more. It reads on, miracles on behalf of the first beast. He deceived all the people who belong to this world. He ordered the people to make a great statue of the first beast, an image of the first beast, a way of life of the first beast, who was fatally wounded and then came back to life when it rose up in the Renaissance. Okay, the Roman Empire raised back up, because that's key. And that's when you go, which I had here, I tried to explain it to Jake the other day. You break down this image of the four major kingdoms, okay, in the book of Daniel. Okay, and a lot of people don't understand this. Okay, that's the divided kingdom. And it was divided because someone else ruled in the middle of it, which was that Dark Ages Byzantine Empire. Okay? It shows you this in the second chapter, iron and clay. But it's still iron. Okay? And I showed it to him, and Jake just acted like he couldn't get it. He had it being a man or something. It was crazy. But anyway, revived Roman Empire, America. Okay? Right there. All right? But it's also that whole EU, NATO, Western world, okay, of those people, which also, in another term, is, and I'll explain this to him, but he did, Jake may not have eyes to see, hear, or perceive, so ears, and all of that. So it says that beast was that EU, NATO nation. They're like, what? It was like a foreign language, and in America's the whore that rides the beast. But it's still all them same countries coming back together, trying to reform that ancient Roman Empire, which they've put the whole structure together. How do you know? Look at the architecture. Look at how they rule. Look at the moral things. You go back and look at the morality, okay, the things that were against the Most High God in that time, and you see the same things happening. Alphabet soup, okay, absolute power, uprisings because of unjust laws. Okay, it becomes the same situation, and that's iron and iron. That's also ties into the military, but they're clay because they break up easy. This place is going to be broken down. Okay, we should know how that ends in Daniel, with that stone, which is that chief cornerstone, Yahweh Shai himself, the Lamb, is going to come and break that up. But just to be quick about it, another tale for another day, another breakdown for another day. So back in Revelation 13, okay, and that's how it came back to life, with that divide that happened in between. Let's see if it said that in there, which it does. It has 168 BC to AD 476. Then it has, then it picks up at 476 to the second Avant, right? But when you actually look at, let me do a quick search. Okay, so it's all about asking ChatGPT the right questions, right? So finally, I tailored the questions to just give me the basics of what I'm looking for, okay? But it's got to tell you the history, right? And there's other good information up there, but I said, what two major rulerships or systems of power, they put that, before the Renaissance were? Like, what were they? So the Roman Empire and the Byzantine Empire. Okay, which I've been referring to. It says Roman Empire from 27 BC, right, to 476 AD in the West. Byzantine Empire from 330 AD to 1453 AD in the East. Okay, because it takes time to transition all the way over. Anyway, it says key features: strong centralized imperial authority, which was like the Roman Empire. Just talking about all of these had that. Foundation of law, government, military structure, and roads, just like ancient Rome. Christianity rose during the Roman Empire and was institutionalized by Constantine. The Byzantine Empire, or Eastern Roman Empire, preserved Roman law, Greek culture, okay, and Christian tradition. That's why that image comes into play. Talking about the Daniel 2 image, okay, so they can build an image like those old ways of life of those other empires, the Greek, Greco-Roman empires, which were Edomites that ruled those, okay. Decline, it says the Western Roman Empire fell in 479 AD due to internal decay and barbarian invasions. The Byzantine Empire survived until 1453, the fall of Constantinople, just as the Renaissance was beginning in Italy. Medieval feudalism, Christendom, Middle Ages. Okay, it's 500 through 13 is circa the 1300s. Okay. These two systems laid the legal, religious, and cultural groundwork for the Renaissance. So it shows you what happened in those time periods that led up to it, which was the rebirth of classical Greco-Roman learning and human-centered thought. Okay, and that's why it was the Dark Ages, not because dark jakes ruled in that time. They won't tell you who those people were, but dark-skinned people. I'm gonna ask. Let me ask ChatGPT. Let me ask. There you go. Yes, dark-skinned people did rule and play significant roles during the Middle Ages and even in connection with the Byzantine era, though their histories are often underrepresented or overlooked in Western narratives. Okay? And it breaks it down further. That's good enough for now. Maybe I'll go into this a little bit later, but just showing you how this plays in. Now, here's something that it asks that is beautiful. Let me know if you like to tie it into biblical prophecy, Islamic power, or African kingdoms around the same time. I would have liked that. It's not going to happen like that, though. Bear with me. Go to ChatGPT and look what it says. Revelation, prophecy, connections, dark-skinned nations, and world empires. Like I said, I'm going to have to go into this another time. But let's see if it ties in. The beast out to sea. This system usurped spiritual authority, persecuted the saints, and reigned over multitudes. Okay, during this time, independent dark-skinned kingdoms, okay, resisted or stood apart from the beast system in those ancient times. Fleeing into the wilderness. Okay, they tied all that 10 horns. European colonizers, they got it right. Okay, Babylon the Great, wealth, slavery, and oppression. Okay, let's see if they go into the 13th chapter. The beast system rises. And see, they call it the system. Okay, Roman, Byzantine, Papal, European domination. Okay, when you tie it in, you see it. Okay, summary. Like I said, I'll try to go into this a little bit later. All right. And look, they even got ChatGPT be on it. And see, this gives life, and this is where this all ties into. And I, went into another angle, but that's the spirit. So this all ties into what Palantir is doing. Let's go back. Okay, because now through all of their technology and their system that they're creating, which is cashless, which will be digital money, okay, which will be one religion, one banking system, one medical understanding, which we know the WF or the WHO, excuse me, just put all this into play. Both of them, but they put that into play. They'll now be ruling over all the world's health, the World Health Organization, right? Is what it's called. It says so they're going to be ruling over the countries. Okay. Now 15 said he was then permitted to give life to the statue or the image, that way of life system, so that it could speak, come to life, and be real. It says, then the image statue of the beast commanded that anyone refusing to worship it must die. If you don't participate in it, you'll die, because you'll be ostracized out of it. Okay? And we know what it goes on to say in that. I'm not going to get into that, but let's go back to Palantir. So now we're here back at Palantir. Palantir Technologies is an American software. I did look this up in another, might have been ChatGPT. But anyway, it says Palantir Technologies. Oh, it's here, AI mode. Software company specializes in building software platforms for big data analysis. Okay, so now they've created a system, and they have it all set up to where they can all come back and use all the data gathered through the world, put it all into one system. Okay, as they got APHIS. If you guys know on the criminal side of things, APHIS, it was a national day. I forgot what APHIS means. Let me look it up for you. All right, APHIS, based on the provided search results, there appears to be a misunderstanding. See, they don't want to give me, APHIS right here, automated fingerprint identification system. So it became a national. I was going to say it. Let me read it. Is a biometric identification system. Biometrics, your fingerprint, right? Used by law enforcement agencies worldwide to identify individuals based on their unique fingerprint patterns. Okay, but they're going to have your blood type, your internet searches, okay, where you've lived, your history, your work history. They're going to have everything about you on this system. Because now AI can run that. Manpower take forever. But AI can just work all day, all night and get through it. All right. It says the FBI's integrated automated fingerprint IFIS, right? Identification system, now part of the next generation identification system, is prominent examples of APHIS. Okay. APHIS. We don't want APHIS. We want APHIS. Care about rent a car. Okay, but that gave you generally what you needed. So back to Palantir, right? It says, is a publicly traded American company that specializes in software platforms for big data analytics. It was founded in 2003 by Peter Thiel, Stephen Cohen, and Joe Lonsdale, and Alex Karp. The company is headquartered in Denver, Colorado. Core business: Palantir develops and sells software platforms for big data integration, AI, and analytics. So now, like, you go to if you make videos and create content on YouTube, you can go to the analytics, and it tells you who watches your video, how long they watch, how many people. It get all the ins and outs of it. So this is what Palantir does. It gives you all the analytics of a certain something, big data, and puts it all into where you can understand the algorithms, if you will, but of the people. Okay. It goes on to say, their platforms are designed to help organize, manage large and complex data sets to make more informed decisions. They focus on human-driven analysis, of real-world data and provide user-friendly interfaces to empower users to analyze data without requiring extensive technical knowledge. Key platforms, right? And it goes all into that. I'm not going to get into all of that. We can see that. Let's read this artificial intelligence platform. Launched in 2023, AIP integrates large language models into privately operated networks to provide AI capabilities to existing Palantir software, such as the Apollo Foundry and Gotham platforms. Okay, so now they're using AI to gather this information and then make it easy for you to understand. Palantir customer base. Palantir primarily serves government institutions, okay, including the United States intelligence community and the Department of Defense. They also have a significant commercial client base in industries like healthcare, finance, and manufacturing. In 2023, 55% of the company's annual revenue came from government clients and 45% from commercial clients. Okay? Controversies. Palantir has faced controversies related to privacy concerns and its work with government agencies, particularly its contracts with U.S. Immigration and Customs, ICE enforcement, right? And its involvement in predictive policing, which we bring that up because it's like the crystal ball that can foresee things and patterns and in pre-crime, like the movie Minority Report. Okay, it's like the database that the of the crime coming, and then they get the vision of it from those prophets or the three. I forgot what they called them, but it was the two guys and the girl in the movie. Some critics have raised concerns about the potential for their software to be used for surveillance and its impact on civil liberties. Okay, so while you know that, watch this. Real quick, just to tie it all in, OpenAI has won a $200 million contract with the U.S. to provide the Department of Defense with artificial intelligence tools. So they're bringing it to this information that they have with the wide database. So they're putting AI to it, which that's why they have the Terminator next to it, because this looks like Cyberdyne and Skynet. Because once AI gets to it, it becomes self-aware and self-thinking. That's what they want it to be, right? And that's when it's supposed to take over, according to the movie I'm speaking. Okay? Just according to the movie. All right? But we see a similarity in the moves happening. Okay? But here's the thing that people don't realize. The guys that whoever, I'm saying guys, but the people that actually program it are the ones that are really in control. Their sense of moral balance, moral compass, okay, is what's going to prevail over everything, how they program it. Okay, but let me get this other article I was trying to show you, which is right here. And this is from June the 18th this year, 2025. Right? A day, well, by the time you get this, it might be a couple days now, but it says Democratic lawmakers probe, is from democracynow.org. Democratic lawmakers probe how Palantir is helping Trump build nationwide database of Americans. Okay? This is what it's doing. 10 Democratic lawmakers are seeking more information about how the tech company Palantir is helping the Trump administration build what the lawmakers describe as a government-wide searchable mega database that connects sensitive tax and other government data. In a letter to Palantir CEO Alex Karp, the lawmakers describe the database as a surveillance nightmare that will make it significantly easier for Donald Trump's administration to spy on and target his growing list of enemies and other Americans. Okay? So as you see this coming to pass, you know, we can see what this is, that image that is being set up in Revelation. And with that image is got to come the mark. Okay? So I want to just kind of pull that together that God complex, all of this coming together is what they're trying to build. And they're putting it all together as the prophecy broke it down. Okay, these are the miracles, the things of being able to have all of that. Okay, there's this. We got health things that can stop it. We have the Neuralink that can be implemented, and it can monitor these things with the nanobites and all these other things in there. Okay? You see it all coming to pass, man, when you got to continue to see the bigger picture as you're looking at these details. All right, so I'm going to end this there. That pretty much hit all the information I wanted. I can't think of much more for this one. But I'll come back in another lesson. Lord willing, this is edifying, giving all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Ba'ashim, Yahushua, Ba'ashim, Rakakwadash, the one to our apostles, the bishop, the elders of the great millstone, and greetings, salutations, blessings, much love unto you elect. Shalom.